All right, in dealing with week 11, looking at developmental remedial education. So first question, providing an overview. Um, really, we're getting to a point that it's getting monotonous. It's the same old song and dance, I feel like. The vast majority of students who are taking remedial courses are, um, you know, African Americans, Hispanic students, minority students, students from lower socioeconomic statuses. Something like 70% students from lower socioeconomic statuses have to take some sort of remedial, at least one. But really, when you're dealing with community colleges, nearly half of students need at least one remedial course. 44% is the nationwide percentage. Uh, in Washington, that rate was 50%. Um, but yeah, and that's what you're looking at and especially with community college students, because they are typically lower as far as academically prepared, lower academic skills. They're going to have to take these remedial courses. Um, you know, the real rise came in remedial courses just in general, because professors, particularly at universities, were just kind of fed up with, all right, the level is just sinking and sinking and sinking, and so finally someone putting the foot down and saying, all right, there needs to be some sort of remedial coursework that gets students at least up to a point so that they can be ready to learn and ready to go once we get into it. Um, and so looking at the next question, it talks about major problems um, with remedial education. There's just so many students in the courses, and so that creates a challenge in trying to create a trying to create coursework that's interesting, that engages the students. You're kind of up against it already. You have students who are lower levels academically, so that already kind of creates a problem. Um, they kind of have been told that they're lower level academically, and now placed in a class that tells them that they're lower level academically. So their motivation is pretty low. Difficult to really find faculty who are. You're going to be hard pressed to find faculty that are excited about teaching remedial courses. And so it's just one thing on top of another on top of another, and so that really creates a downward spiral almost. This perfect storm of so many things going against these courses, and going against this remedial education. It's also really expensive. Um, Students have to pay for the class even though they're not getting credit for it, so they're upset. Colleges don't get any additional funding for these courses, so they're upset. They have to go out and try to get it funded. Um, Sometimes you can get it sponsored or something like that, but typically, so it's expensive for both sides. Um, it's kind of hard for let's see, it's hard for students to apply some of the coursework to whatever their next step is, whether it's continuing along the transfer process or jumping into the workforce. It's difficult for them to kind of make the connections of what they're having to learn in those remedial courses, um, and it's not necessarily working. It kind of already puts you at such a disadvantage. The percentage is below 10% as far as the percentage of students graduating from community colleges who start in remedial education, less than 10%. So it's hard to say if it's even working. Um, so I guess moving on to last, some new practices or approaches that could improve things. Yeah, I think just connecting skills that are being taught with whatever the next step is. Um, if it is to go down the path to be, something, a nurse or a PA or something, like some sort of like, medical math or something where, hey, we're going to learn this remedial math, but we're going to learn it in a way that could be useful. So trying to bridge the gap there and try to make some of those connections for the students. Um, they're kind of looking at a variety of programs that might help out. There are some community colleges that you're looking at a self-pacing, self self-pacing that education, doing skill testing to try to get students to test out of some remedial courses. Oftentimes requiring kind of using an old way of going about things of having labs where you would take a class, but then you have to attend a study lab or a tutorial lab along with those courses to try to see if something can work. A lot of it is trying to meet this, but and I say it's as if this is a new idea, but it goes along with everything else. With almost any student in student affairs, but trying to figure out where these students are and trying to meet them with where they are. Is it, why are they in these remedial classes? Is it, they didn't have the opportunities? Is it because there's a learning disability? Is there like, what is it? And then meeting them on that individual level and trying to get to that, taking a student and meeting them where they are and then trying to help them along, helping the greatest number of students possible. And so that's one of the many ways to try to improve things. Another big thing is just trying to connect some of the better high school preparation for college courses. I think doing some of this reading, I think I say this every time we do a reading. I feel like it beats the drum for a K through 16 education system. Something that our education systems need to be talking to each other as they're going through. So that we're all kind of going so that we're all on the same playing field and we're all on the same level. Like we know that, hey, these are the things that we want to teach. We're all going to teach. This is the goal, instead of just that not being the case. Being sporadic. K through 12, some barely has success, much less once they get into a college or university level. So there's some potential, but it's going to take a while. Sorry, this one went over.